Welcome to Inside Design with Kandrac and Kole, hosted by two nationally published Atlanta interior designers, Joanne Kandrac and Kelly Kole. These energetic women are also world travelers, charity givers, and bloggers with a wealth of information to share and stories to tell about the interior design world. Okay, now just a warning, this is going to be fun and not too serious. After all, they still do have an interior design business running at full speed.
Hey everybody, this is Inside Design with Kandrac and Kole. This is Joanne Kandrac. Today is episode 117 with our guest Phil Pallen, who is a social media expert and a brand strategist. We are so thrilled to have Phil Pallen as a guest on our show for a second time. Woohoo! Because seriously, he is smart, funny, and he's so full of great information. If you tune into episode 67, entitled Everything You Need to Know About Branding with Phil Pallen, you'll want to listen to it after you hear him today. We love his mantra, which is, a personal brand isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. So we're looking forward to a great conversation with Phil, but before we speak with him, we want to let you know that this episode is sponsored by Emily Morrow Home.
So if you guys haven't heard about Emily Morrow Home, it is a luxury flooring to the trade brand constructed of North American hardwoods that feature thicker, longer, wider planks and beautiful finishes and array of styles. And I'll tell you guys, this is flooring like you're not used to seeing. So we love that this flooring that she sells, it has a barrier. So to make them splash, spill, scuff proof, as well as dent resistant. They're crafted in Tennessee by hand. Inside, get this, a medium security prison. So there's a story there, and you know we love a story behind everything. So her story is one of second chances and taking pride in what one does. And you can check her out, EmilyMorrowHome.com, and she's all over Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn as well.
Okay, so we're ready to introduce Phil. Now, Phil is the world traveler, and Phil is coming to us today from Madrid, Spain.
Are you in Madrid now?
I'm in Madrid now. And listen,
right.
I don't expect anyone to keep track because I can barely keep track, okay? No one ever asks me how I am. They ask me where I am, and I'm totally okay with it because I even confuse myself. I'm in Madrid.
We tell all of our friends, we have this colleague's friend, buddy, who is a gypsy, and he has crafted the most perfect work environment that takes him all over the world. Mm-hmm. And we're very jealous.
That would be me. Oh, right, well, so you don't have to be jealous. You can just be inspired because then you too can come and join me wherever you want. You say when and I say where. That's the deal.
Yes,
so tell us like the last 6 places you've been to. Just
oh my gosh, I'd have to look it up at philpallen.co/2021 because I can't even keep track. But that's not a joke. I wouldn't joke about that. I literally publish my
because you do have
dates.
your list. Yeah, you have your list. Yeah.
Yes, because people, I don't know. I mean, I'm moving around and I never want to forget to see someone. So as soon as I think, oh my God, I'm going to Lisbon, I have to tell this person. And then the dates change. And then I get confused. And then I'm also managing a business and doing all the other things I do like podcasting and I forget. So I literally just put all the dates and I keep it updated in one place. And that's where I send people. So where have I been? I've been to Spain. I've been to France. I've been to Monaco. I've been to Italy, all in the last 2 weeks. Prior to that, I was in Turkey. Where was I before that? I was in Mexico. Next, I'm going to Portugal, and then I'm going to Greece. I'm going to plant myself there for 3 weeks, and then back to Mexico by December. There you go.
Here would be my problem, because if I went to all those places, I'd have to shop in all those places. So I would have so much stuff that I'd have to have like multiple homes or something. I don't know. What would I do with all my stuff?
Right.
And I'm sure as a guy, maybe you don't do that. Because I know you're good at living out of a backpack. You do?
I certainly
Where do you
still
put
do
all
it, yes.
your mementos and gems that you buy on your travels?
Okay, well, I have a very strict rule. When one thing comes in, one thing goes out. There's literally... that's the rule. There's a place for everything. And so I literally have to strategize if I buy an extra t-shirt. I'm serious. And there's certain things I have to travel with. Like I need to have my coffee that I bring from Colombia. I bring it. I buy it in Colombia where I spend a lot of time. I bring it. So sometimes if I'm going, like this is a long haul, this is our Euro trip. So I'm here for like over 6 months. I have I mean, probably 5-6 bags of coffee that I bought, and I have to find a place for that. So, these are the unique challenges, I guess, as I'm saying them out loud, I realize only I face.
Oh my God. Well, we have lots of great stuff to
Yes,
cover
we do.
today. So we're going to start on our topics, which these are the 7 types of rest, diversifying one's income streams, and setting boundaries with clients. I love every single one of these topics. So the types of rest, I love these. Go ahead and tell us about them.
Sure. Well, and I guess I should first say that these all fit together before I even dive into these types of rest, which, by the way, they're not my ideas, but I certainly shared them recently on Instagram, and that post, I wouldn't say it went viral, but it has hundreds and hundreds of saves and shares, which is a lot for me. And so this is something that resonated with people. I think all of these topics, these juicy topics we're talking about today, are all based on one thing. It's kind of like, how can we chill out for a bit, but still be productive, still play an important role in our businesses. But like, I now consider the word hustle the H word. I don't want to hear it. 10 years ago, we're like, ooh, let's hustle. Let's work 12 hours and then let's brag about it and complain about it. And I'm so over it. If you want to impress me, ladies, if you want to impress me, you tell me that you work 4 days a week and still get everything done and still satisfy clients and actually enjoy your weekend. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's so different. The climate has changed. And so
it has
that's
changed.
Why we're talking about
and that
this.
is a blessing
You guys
of
agree?
COVID that we've talked about it a couple of times on the show. It is, our world has changed, and it's because of the time that we had at home during COVID to really reevaluate our lives. Although I think you were talking about this before COVID, to be honest, and you've always been good about that. So,
Well, the other thing is time goes so fast.
Yeah.
It goes so fast. You don't want to look back and say, why were we killing ourselves?
Yeah.
I think it does resonate with people because we all are working, and we're just by nature hard workers. So how do we rest?
yeah.
Right. We're going to work smart. We're not going to work hard. That's what we're going to accomplish. So rest is this really interesting idea that came from a conversation with my incredible client and friend, Kendra Reddy, who's an executive coach. We had her on our podcast, Brand Therapy, and my co-host Lauren and I were so inspired by these ideas that she had shared. So inspired that I talked about it, and now I'm talking about it with you guys. I made a YouTube video about it. I'm like, Kendra, this is so good. She says there are 7 types of rest. And the fact is, most of us only know like 1, 2, if you're lucky, 3 of them. So let me go top to bottom. We're going to go 1 to 7, babies. Here we go.
Okay.
Physical rest. Here we go. Strap yourselves in. We're going to put your seatbelt on. No, we're resting, actually. Don't get excited. We're resting. I'm going to use a more chill voice. Physical rest is number 1. This is one that we know. So this is anything that gives your body a break. Activities like sleeping. That's one of my favorite activities. You guys too?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I slept 12 hours last night, but anyway, go ahead.
Oh, good for you. See,
I had
that's
to.
something to brag about. That's something to
I
brag
was-
about.
I was
will
dying,
accept
and-
that brag.
Yeah. I brag.
So sleeping, eating nutritiously, taking actual rest days instead of running a daily, what feels like a marathon. So that's number 1, rest number 1, physical rest. Let's keep going. 2, mental rest. So this gives your brain time off from processing information. And the best way to implement this type of restoration, let's call it, is through a hobby that allows your brain to just tune out. My favorite way of doing this is music. Other people might find they can accomplish this by watching a movie and just being a little bit mindless. Actually taking time to do that's important. Do you guys have a way that you mentally rest?
Reading a good book where I'm really into it. I think about nothing but about what I'm reading at that time.
Yep, I do
That's
that
kind
too.
of like
And
a mental.
I stretch a lot. So when I'm stretching and concentrating on breathing, which I learned in yoga, when you're really, really focusing on your breath, it's super hard to think about anything else.
You too. I'm so impressed. These are great examples. Give yourselves a pat on the back. We're going to keep going. So we talked physical. We talked mental. Number 3, sensory rest. So this is like cueing the do not disturb mode. You remember, when you hang that on your door in a hotel room? I love hanging that there very dramatically. Do not enter. 'Cause I hate, why is it when you like go to an expensive hotel, they like knock on the door all the time? It's like they want to set the room and then they want to make up the room and they want to do it for some reason at 10 a.m. It's like, no. Hello, this is called sensory rest. Cue.
Sensory rest in progress. Do not disturb.
Sensory rest in progress. That's good branding. A hotel should steal that.
So would sensory be phones, TVs?
Yes.
Is that what we're talking
Removing
about? Yeah, this is I'm not that good at.
stimulation.
I'm not that good at this.
No, none of us are.
It's funny. I go to an acupuncturist once in a while, and part of what my visit to her is, I have a detox foot bath, and I sit in this chair for like 30 minutes, and she doesn't let me have my phone. And I'm like, but I need to be entertained while I sit here with my feet in this hot water. And she's adamant about it. And so I'm like, do, and I'm really bored and I'm really antsy. But you have to learn to just chill out, like you said.
I love that she follows that rule, or that she implements that rule. That's actually kind of hilarious and brilliant.
She started to put these glasses on me that have these like weird lights that she says is part of my healing. But I seriously think that she's doing it so that I will not sneak my phone when she's not looking.
She's got a method to her madness. Well, we're going to give her a pat on the back. None of us. We're giving her a pat on the back for sensory rest. Combating sensory fatigue by turning off all notifications. Do you want to know something too? Let me just add a quick little thought to this. I do it almost seasonally or as needed. We forget that like you can go on your iPhone or whatever device you're using, go to your notifications and turn them off. You may find in a week or 2 or 3, you're ready to turn them back on. I deleted Slack from my phone, which is how I communicate with my team. I was reading it with the time difference. I'm in Europe. I was reading it up until 11, midnight at night. It was like, wait, that's not how this works. And it's also not necessary. Let's not kid ourselves. You do not need all those notifications. Devices are designed to keep you addicted and paying attention to them. So combat that there. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Okay, so we did physical, we did mental, we did sensory. Let's keep going. Number 4, creative rest. Oh, you guys are going to love this one. So this comes down to doing a task that you cannot fail at. You can't fail doing it. So walking, meditating, a side project, perhaps playing an instrument. Those are a few examples of creative rest.
Well, you know what?
Something you can't fail at.
When my granddaughter was a little bit younger, we would sit and color together. And that coloring, that was a good way of just sort of tuning out. Like when you're coloring, you kind of...
It really is. And it's funny that you say that, because one year for Christmas, my sister had gotten, I don't know where she found these, but it was one big, massive coloring page, the size of the dining room table. It was that big.
Yes, I remember
And
this.
we all sat around, my mom, my dad, all of us, with a big bucket of crayons, and we colored for hours. It was fantastic.
You can't fail at it. That's a perfect example. And that's a creative example, creative rest. I think that's one of my favorites, one that a lot of us wouldn't know about.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. We have a few more. Number 5, emotional rest. So this is allowing yourself to sit with your emotions. I'll be honest, I'm not good with this one. So this might be in the form of therapy, journaling. Oh God, I hate journaling. Having a deep conversation with a friend. I like that one, especially if there's wine involved. But I don't know if that breaks it from emotional rest. That might turn into something different.
Cocktail rests.
Cocktail rest, exactly. Oh yeah, that's the 8th form. That's the one that I'm going to need, especially in Europe. So emotional rest. So examples: therapy, journaling, having a deep conversation with a friend. Those are good. We wouldn't think about that one. That's emotional rest. Okay, we have 2 more: social rest. We can all appreciate this one, especially virtually. Can we all sympathize with Zoom fatigue? I think social
my poor
rest.
husband. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's exhausting. I feel bad for teachers that have had to be virtual for so long. Even salespeople, I know that they choose that career, but I have phone calls only 2 days a week, strictly. I don't care if you're Queen Elizabeth. I literally will. Okay, fine. Maybe I would get on the phone with her on a Wednesday, but like there are almost no exceptions. And we have found that within our business that is necessary. If you want me to show up peppy, it's going to be a Tuesday or a Thursday because I need every other day to either focus on client deliverables or focus on living my life, which
That's
everyone
very
knows
smart.
I keep no secret.
That's really
I have no
very
problem
smart,
doing that.
though.
Yeah.
social
And
rest.
I mean, we're getting ready to go to High Point, and we'll be there for 5 days. And literally when we get back, I can't talk to anybody for at least a day. I cannot, not get,
you get longer
ask
than
me
a day.
to be chatty.
In fact, Kelly, I want you to go into your schedule for 2 days. I'm giving you 2 days, maybe 3 days following High Point. Like, I don't want you to be having conversations.
Yeah, it's true.
Block off your calendar because you need to recharge.
Yeah, you're right.
And the idea here, I should say, social rest. You're supposed to recharge alone or at the very least with someone where you don't have to be, quote, on. So I think the two of you could socially rest together, your colleagues, but maybe you set some parameters for those days. Maybe it's let's keep it to IM or let's keep it to Slack. Let's keep it to something that's not a phone call.
Yeah. If I've been at a lot of events and consultations and a lot of talking with people, I in my mind, I'm going, stop talking. Stop talking. I don't want to hear any talking.
It's being on for me that's so exhausting. As an extrovert, it does come very easily, but I still get very weary of it. I'm just dead.
Yeah. And I think Zoom has not helped with that or any form of video communication now. I would say, well, previously we were so used to being able to just quickly jump on the phone or send a voice note. And now the fact that video's involved, when let's be honest, it really doesn't need to be. The fact that there's that component, new research is showing that there is actually a correlation between this idea of like fatigue. Zoom fatigue is a real thing. So
Yeah, for sure.
social rest, which I'm giving you both permission to do following High Point.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
The last form of rest, since cocktail rest isn't an official one, but we've maybe unofficially added that as number 8. That wasn't planned. Number 7 is spiritual rest. And this one's really interesting. Bringing consideration to the bigger picture of your existence and overall connection to the world. So the theory here is that you get a sense of purpose, or you find a sense of purpose, and it's going to help you guide and drive you, which is where you find energy. And I think thinking about a mission, a purpose, that totally falls within that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I do love that. Because we have to reel ourselves in. Because it's like that hamster wheel. You keep going, and then all of a sudden, wait a minute, what am I doing? What's my point? What's my purpose? And if you remind yourself of it, right, you kind of reset.
Well, it's funny when Mike and I go out, and we leave the dogs at home, we put on the TV for them, and we usually put on Planet Earth because it's all shows of nature and animals, and it's very soothing, and the music is good. And I'm like, why don't I put that on for myself? I need that in the background, when I'm just hanging out at home.
I like that this one is like also open to interpretation. It's not saying you need to be super spiritual or super religious. It's kind of saying interpret this in a way that makes sense for you and your life. How do you find a sense of purpose? How's that going to help drive you? I've taken some moments this year to even think twice about projects that I've done for years that I've almost just done because I'm so used to doing it out of habit. But they were client projects that were not totally aligned like with my mission. And this year I was like, actually, I'm not going to put so much energy towards that because it's not really a part of what makes me tick or what it is I'm trying to accomplish. And I think that's almost an example of like thinking about these things that don't necessarily fall on our daily to-do list, but we still need to budget time for that bigger picture thought.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what?
I love that one.
I recently went on vacation for a week, and I was doing my away message, and I found a quote that said something, you get some of your best ideas while you're on vacation. It's when your mind is resting.
Yes.
That things kind of come.
Yes.
So I see how all of that helps you to sort of regroup and look at things differently since you're not in the grind.
And be better.
When we all get back on airplanes again, it's the same thing. I love airplanes that don't have Wi-Fi. I think that I want it until I'm in that seat and I actually come up with my best ideas. my best ideas. And you got to make sure you write those ideas down somewhere that you can actually do something with them.
My ideas come to me at 3 a.m.
Yep. Or in the shower.
Yep. And I can't be turning the light on to write this down, so I just grab my phone. Hey, Siri, remind me to. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's a great little system, though. I haven't heard that one, but if it's one that helps you and it's one that allows you to acquire that idea really quickly, that's brilliant.
Siri is Joanne's personal assistant for sure.
Yeah.
Just constantly reminding her of things. The whole nine yards.
It's smart.
My memory's gone, so thank God for her.
All right. So now we're going to kind of pivot a little bit and we're going to talk about all your knowledge about diversifying income streams.
Could that also be
Sure.
known as making money while you're sleeping?
Yes.
Yes, it actually it's barely a pivot. I mean, it's basically what we're talking about, just bringing money
Yeah.
into the picture. Well, I think it was Joanne, or maybe it's Kelly, or maybe it was both of you. One of you said this, we're thinking about these things in a post-COVID era, and this, in addition to the H word, not hustling, I think it was a wake-up call for me, COVID was, in that I was very lucky to have a business that was not drastically disrupted, right? A brick and mortar, an in-person business, entertainment, restaurants. I have lots of friends that work in these industries that were out of a job within a day. And I was not one of those people. But why wasn't I? There was no real thing that I did. I don't think, that necessarily would shield me from something happening in the future. And that's why I say it was still a wake-up call for me as a service business, as a small business. So within a month of the pandemic happening, I thought, okay, how am I productively going to use the time that I would normally allocate to sitting in an airplane going to an exotic destination? How am I going to use it productively to ensure that if even a small safety net is something I can build, then build that, put that in place. So you guys will remember, and I think you've been in actually a handful of them, I created courses. For the first time ever, I created online courses. I did it within 2 months of the pandemic. I launched 3 courses in 3 months around 3 topics that I get asked often about. And that was my first kind of effort to diversify my income. I guess there were other things brewing in the background that are totally not connected to what I do as a brand strategist, like real estate. That's one that actually, saving money from not traveling in 2020, I invested it in real estate. And now I'm working on a 3rd project. And that is just something I've chipped away at, but I'm not necessarily a real estate kingpin yet, but I am investing in it and have already made money in something completely different. And so I'm just introducing this idea of like, what can you do, not necessarily by tomorrow, what can you start to chip away at doing that helps you diversify your income and create a little bit of a safety net? And I'll give you one more very quick example. A year and a half ago, I started making YouTube videos. It's something that cost me more money than I earned from it in the early days. I'd say in the first 6 to 12 months. I had someone helping me with SEO, and I had a graphic designer and an editor and all of these types of things. Now I'm doing sponsored content partnerships with brands to talk about them and mention them and give reviews. And the amount that I make per month, it hasn't hit 5 figures yet monthly, but it's close. And that's something I built literally from scratch in a year and a half. In January, my sponsored content and affiliates, and that's something, it's a topic for a whole other day, I think was around 200 or 300 in January. And last month it was around 8,000, just to put it in perspective. So give these things energy and make sure they're aligned with how you like to spend your time and what you're good at, and create some safety nets so none of us get caught up as something crazy happens in the future.
Well, and I will say that you had the space in your brain and the energy in your body to make those things happen because you do prescribe or subscribe to the 7 types of rest as best you can. And I think if you don't have that space, you can't do what you just said.
Correct. It's also, yes, it's self-discipline or self-awareness, but it's also building an infrastructure and a team. I can't take all the credit for it. The reason I have time in my schedule to work on some of these side projects that are not necessarily a guarantee, especially right away, is because I have a business and I have a business partner and I have a really competent team that help me deliver in other areas of my business. And without that, I could not do that. But to your point, this might be step 2 or step 3. Focus on step 1, which is getting things organized in order. Prioritize yourself instead of putting everyone else first, especially women do this, right? As soon as someone needs something, it's like boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, 10 people need something by the end of the day, and you're going to run out of time to work on yourself. And it's
Well, you
just
said a couple things that I think are important. You said consistency and not expecting something overnight. And I think that Kelly and I have seen that in our business in so many different ways. It's like you're planting some seeds, things that we may have done 8 or 10 years ago somehow came to fruition because we just were consistent. And then eventually opportunities come. So just do it. Keep doing it. You're not perfect. You'll get better and you'll get better. But I think, a lot of people don't start because they don't think they can do it or it's going to take too much
and that's how it kind of is with this podcast. We started it as a creative outlet because of you, Phil. Everybody needs to listen to episode 1 and they'll figure out why you're a big part of our podcast. But
I love it.
And then year 2, we were like, wow, we've got something going on. We started a few sponsors. 2021, it got better and we filled the entire calendar. 2022 will be the year that we cover our expenses because this podcast takes a lot of money to produce and market. And 2023 will be the year that we start making money on the podcast with our sponsorships. Not a ton, but at least it won't be a big expense for us, which it has been for the last, but we're going into year 4. Yeah. So, but it was a seed that we planted and it's grown and grown and grown and it actually will be an income generator for us at some point. Yeah.
Absolutely. And all it takes, we can't just look at ad revenue and stuff like that. Those are obvious metrics, but all it takes is one person listening to the podcast that stays that helps you to stay top of mind for that person. Who then recommends to a relative, by the way, you're redesigning your house. I know who you need to call. I think podcasting is such an incredible way of doing 2 things, creating long-form content that can be repurposed in micro ways on other social media platforms. And it's an amazing way for staying top of mind with people. There are lots of interior designers, but let's have people think about you. Let's have people think about you as top of mind when that topic ever comes into their brain. You guys are doing so well. I had such a proud moment when you were doing your intros, sounding like absolute pros. I feel like this podcast could be syndicated. It sounds so amazing. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, you're awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So let's move to setting boundaries with clients and setting up scripts because we were just talking about this with a designer friend. We ran into her at Scott's Antique Market and she said, "Hey, I was looking at some people on Instagram and they said that they don't text with their clients. Do you text with your clients?" And we were like, "Very rarely." And she said, "Are you kidding me?" We're like, "Girl, no way. That opens up a ocean of problems with boundaries."
They're texting her on the weekends. She doesn't have a good paper trail, So
It's common.
Give us your,
but you know what?
Your power on this.
But sometimes it's really hard to say that. You don't want to sound. So if somebody says, or like one of the things you talk about is when a client's requiring more correspondence than you expected, because that can happen. What do you do then?
It happens often in service businesses. I'm sure we can all relate to it. So, and I know we're getting short on time, but lucky for your wonderful listeners, I wrote a blog post with scripts for these instances where it's important for you as a service provider, as a business owner, to set boundaries with clients. Joanne, you gave this example. This is the first one that I spot all the time when a client's requiring more correspondence time than you expect. I use a handy little time tracking tool called EverHour, and so do all my contractors. It also makes doing payroll really easy. Everything's based on time within our business. So I just look at the end of the month and go, okay, great. Everyone's worked this amount of time. Boom. Pay them for the amount of time they worked. So we update our clients at the 50% budget, 75, 90, and 100% marks. And I won't read it now, but I can give you a script on how to handle when someone is taking more time than expected. And you can tweak the script based on your unique business. Sometimes people do fixed price projects. Some people bill based on time, which I think normally is better, more profitable, and more fair for your clients. There's all different ways of tackling this, but I give some scripts in that blog post for dealing with that, or when a client asks for your mobile number and you don't want to share it. A great tool that you can use is Google Voice, and do not connect it to your phone. That defeats the purpose. You can set email notifications anytime a client tries to call you or text you, and then it's going to appear in your inbox. But for them, when you reply, it appears like a normal text message. They won't know the difference. So,
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that cool? So if you're not up for Google Voice, then I'll give you a script to handle that situation. Say something like this. It's better for me if we stick with email. My client workflow is all through my inbox. So this way I won't drop the ball on any requests. You make it about your ability to do an amazing job for them rather than saying, I don't want to hear from you.
And it is 100% true.
Well, you know what? These scripts are so good. Just before we forget, so if somebody wants to subscribe to your blog, it's philpallen.co.
Yeah, it's philpallen.co/blog. And I created a unique shortened link for this exact blog post, which is philp.al/boundaries. And I have, I think, 4 or 5 scripts in that blog post. Things like, hey, can we get on a phone call right now to talk about this thing? And you're like, no, I've got 800 other things to do. How do you handle that situation?
And people
asking for a mobile number. There's all kinds of them.
Yeah,
So
having the words to be able to.
Yeah.
So and people need these words. Sometimes we get so caught up in like, oh, I don't want to offend them or whatever. But the way you say them, it's very to the point and it's not rude. It's just.
So it was phil.al/boundaries.
Close. philp.
Phil P.
.al.
Yeah. .al. Okay.
philp.al/boundaries has all of those scripts.
Yeah. And so if a client wants to call, like you said, and you've got 800 things going on, what's your words?
So I would say something like, I have a few ideas here, but I'd say something like, email is better for me this week. Would it be possible for you to send over your questions here in email when you send it? I'll
that
get
sounds
back to
very
you
nice.
promptly. Yeah. Just say it's better for me this week. They don't need to know why. Or something like this. I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. Since this topic has a lot of details, let's stick with email so we've got a written record and nothing gets missed. I use that one a lot.
Yeah.
So true.
So smart. Yep.
So true.
And you can tweak these depending on your own situation and brand voice. But I think just having something to start from is really useful. Yeah. And to be fair, I've gone to this blog post myself and gone, what was the script for that situation again? I've gone to my own post and used them.
That's hilarious. I had a brain moment, but now I've forgotten what it was.
Well,
awesome.
Covered a lot.
Well, for those of you listening, follow Phil on Instagram and Facebook. You give such great information. I love you don't send a lot of newsletter emails, but when they come, they're all really good. And you're one of the ones that I will always open.
Yes,
because you are really you are very giving to your followers, and you give a lot of great information.
Yeah, a lot, which is why we always are. Well, we are very good at keeping in touch with each other, but that was how this second podcast came about, was because you sent another great email, and I was like, you know what, Phil, we need to hear this with your voice, so come back on and talk about it. So you are the master at email marketing for sure.
Well, I actually don't love getting emails, and I think that is what makes me better at email marketing, because I unsubscribe from almost everything, except of course from yours, because I feel the same way about you too. I love getting updates. I just love knowing what's happening in your world, and I love following the podcast. And I think with email, listen, I'm the branding guy. I love building beautiful brands. I love for things to be visual and well designed. But when it comes to email, people don't want that. The more designed an email is, the more branded and advertising it is, the less likely people want it, even if it's beautiful. So for email, I really try not to send any images in my emails, one hyperlink to something where someone can consume a piece of content I've made in more depth. But beyond that, I use it occasionally to sell things, but never too much. I always give more than I, sell. And I think that's why that platform has been successful for me, because I don't take people for granted. I don't take the fact that people stick around for granted. And I think that's a really important lesson with email.
Oh, you're so wise.
You're so wise.
Oh,
well,
stop it.
hold on. We have our funny and serious quote that we end with.
Oh, I love this.
Yes. Okay.
Go ahead. You can do the funny one.
Okay.
I love them both, but go ahead.
Some angry guy with road rage just yelled out his window, "I'm going to make your life a living hell." I yelled back, "Thanks, but I'm not looking for a relationship right now."
I love
Thankfully, I can't relate to that. I have a wonderful marriage to Joanne and Mike.
Yes.
But
Yes.
Okay. I love this serious quote because I'll just read it. Okay. Go to the gym enough and the weights don't get lighter, you get stronger. Take action enough and things don't get easier, you get consistent. Stresses in life don't get less stressful, you learn how to handle them better. Keep getting 1% better every day. And basically, this is what we talked about today.
Yep.
I love that one. I love that one.
can't imagine a better quote for this episode. Well done, you two. The funny and the serious.
Yes.
Well, you'll be very proud of us that in a couple of weeks, we are going with 2 other designers for an inspirational trip to San Miguel de Allende.
Yes.
And I know that's right up your alley. So we are going to take off and do that because we can't be you, but, we're trying.
I am so impressed. You actually are going to a place that I have not been yet. I was on my way there. I was in Mexico for the whole year of the pandemic and visiting different cities and stuff. I still found a way around the country. Still had to travel, just domestically. But that was, I had an Airbnb booked. I had everything booked. We were on our way. And that was actually one of the strictest cities for COVID. They would not let you in without a residence card, which we did not have. So I went to Cabo instead, not complaining.
Well, you
sad.
You can follow us. We'll be posting and giving all kinds of good information. And so our time is up, but loved having you, Phil. And I know
we miss you in person.
Yes, our listeners will get a lot
anytime,
of
you
great,
too.
Yep. Okay.
Anytime. I love chatting with you. Thank you for having me again.
Safe travels all over the world.
And just everybody, thank you so much for Emily Morrow for sponsoring us. We love Emily Morrow Home and hope that you all tune in. And we hope that you will take a minute so that other people can start loving our podcast and rate and review us. It really helps people find us. So, Phil Pallen, we love you.
Love you back.
And have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Join Joanne and Kelly weekly for a lively conversation about trends, travels to industry events, current design projects, the good, the bad, and the ugly, do's and don'ts, product recommendations, and more. Be sure to follow the fun on Facebook. They're on Instagram at Kandrac Kole. And of course, you've got to visit them online at kandrac-kole.com for more information.